Excited to have a full house here. This is great. Thank you for everybody for coming out. I'm Conor, the Chief Operating Officer, one of the 4 owners of Forward Madison. Joining me tonight is our head coach and technical director, Matt Glaeser. We've got a handful of questions pre-submitted. We're going to answer those questions first. Then we'll get into the crowd here, and then we'll answer questions from those watching from home. We're going to start with a few opening remarks. It's an exciting time of year. Players showed up this week, and everybody's undefeated. So everybody's feeling good. But yeah, it's 40 degrees, 43 degrees, sunny today. We're feeling like summer around here, and excited to get the season going. We continue to invest both on the player side, but also on the stadium side, and we're excited to talk about a significant stadium renovation tonight. So, we've had a video board, a sometimes functioning video board. We'll admit that. And then we've got a scoreboard next to that. And we're going to pull both of those down and put up one video board that will cover those 2 spaces. So a 12-foot by 38 video board that will have replay, have animation, have what a modern stadium should have. And so, we know it's important to continue to invest in that fan experience. And so we are making that investment on the business side this year. And we're excited to be putting that in and have it ready. Should be ready for April 15th, opening day. So we're excited to do that. We'll do a couple other minor tweaks from a seating perspective, add a few seats, try and lower some railings up here that block some sight lines. Nothing too significant, but some modifications. And then continue to add some food and beverage points of sale at both ends of the stadium. So we want to continue to try and improve the fan experience. We've been so fortunate to have a great attendance, great following, lead the USL League One. It's important that we keep making the experience fresh and improving the experience for all of you loyal fans. So as I mentioned, exciting time. Players are reporting as we speak. You met a few of them earlier. And, their schedule is we'll have most of them into town this week. They will do a physical and fitness test on Friday. We'll have a front office and player family dinner on Saturday to kind of start meshing the players, their families, and the front office together. And then on Sunday, they'll hit the road and go to Minnesota. They'll spend the week in Minnesota. They'll play Minnesota United on Friday. They'll come back home for the weekend. They'll then spend the week in Rockford and play Chicago Fire's MLS 2 team. And I should say Minnesota United's 2 team, but then the second week they'll play the Chicago Fire's 2 team. Down in Bridgeview. They'll come back for the weekend, rest of it, and then spend the next week in Rockford in Indy playing Indy 11. So 3 exhibitions. We're trying to get on a weekly cadence as we build towards March 26th and our season opener in Omaha. After those first 3 matches, we will host DePaul here on March 11th, and that'll be a season ticket holder only event. The stadium won't be fully open. We won't fully have the water on. This space will be open. But it is March 11th here in the great state of Wisconsin. And so hopefully that game will go on as scheduled. And then we will do an inter-squad match on the 18th, on March 18th. And then, as I mentioned, I think we'll be seeing many of you folks in Omaha for the season opener. So a lot of excitement this time of year. We feel great about the work that our coaches have done in the offseason. We've got great stability on the coaching side of things. While we have turned over the roster quite a bit, we feel good about what we learned or what the staff learned in their first year and feel good about what they're building now. And we feel good about, how we're looking from a business side and from the investments we're making in the stadium. And hopefully we can continue that fan excitement, fan engagement, and continue to have great crowds here. So I want to turn over to Matt to make a few comments on the player side of things. Then we'll hop into questions. Once again, I want to thank everybody for being here. It's awesome to see everybody here. Grant, you can take a seat if you want. You're making me a little nervous just standing there with your arms crossed. You're like the angry dad at a youth soccer game. But yeah, so go ahead, Matt. I can tell. I don't trust that guy. So go ahead, Matt.
No, thanks, Conor. First and foremost, I'm honored to be back as the coach again here. I think, those of you that were here prior to when we started heard from a few of the players and myself. And I think, the big message that I want to convey before we talk about new signings is that we're coming into this with a big chip on our shoulder. We're coming into this with a point to prove, and we're coming into this season with the idea of setting things in the right direction, in the direction we want to be in. So I feel very honored and privileged to be a part of that. And we're going to do everything we can to get this thing going in the right way. Regarding the off-season roster moves, my staff and I have spent a lot of time sort of scouring the earth, looking for players that we feel like could be a good fit for what we want to do here in Madison. A big part of what we spent time looking at in the off-season is key performance indicators, things that we felt like were going to be valuable in our league. Okay, size, athleticism, technical ability. We struggled on set pieces last year. That's a big thing that we've looked to address with delivery in terms of in the size and athleticism piece. We've signed, at the moment, we have 17 players signed. Okay, we're probably going to carry 20 to 21, so a little bit of a smaller roster. And the idea is that we're more of a tight unit, a little bit more of a family, a little bit more of a situation where we can bring guys in, we can get them bought into our core values, and we can create an environment where it's closer knit, and that's the idea. Really excited about some of the signings we've had. Obviously today we announced the goalkeeper, Bernd Shipman, who is a German international, Filipino international, has played national team games for the Philippines and World Cup qualifiers, 28 years old, has played in some lower tier footy in Germany, comes in with a lot of experience, calm, big guy, calm, good with his feet. We're really excited about Bernd. We signed Christian Cheney, who was a proven goal scorer in our league. He scored 10 goals for Central Valley last year as a striker. We're very excited to have Christian in town. Mauro Sacchero, who you guys just met, has been in the championship for the last few years. He's 6'4". He's a central midfielder, attacking piece. He can play a couple of different positions. We've gone after a lot of versatility. We've signed 3 English players that are on the younger side: Jaden Onan, Aiden Macias, and Francis Janot Baptiste. They're all young, exciting English players. 2 of them are attacking. One of them is more of a midfielder. Francis has goals in Allsvenskan in Sweden, which is the top tier in Sweden. Came up through Crystal Palace. Jaden was at Sheffield Wednesday. So these are guys that have good pedigree, have a good footballing background and education. And obviously we have some key returning guys as well. Really excited to have Andrew, Mitch back, and Nazim, Derek. So we've got some core guys coming back in. Big turnover, but I think lots to be excited about. And it's up to us now as coaches to get them gelling and heading in the same direction. But we're very excited and optimistic and feeling positive about the way things are heading.
Great. Well, we have some submitted questions. Those are all from our friends and family, so they're easy. No, I'm kidding. But we'll go with the submitted questions first, then we'll open it to the group. And excited to be having this chat with everyone. And somehow we have to. This is set up, so we have to keep admitting all these people that come in. So sorry. All right.
Are there tangible things season ticket holders could do to help expand opportunities for women to play professionally in Wisconsin?
I think that's a great question. I think just continue to support soccer, continue to support this club. Listen, if there's going to be pro women's soccer in the state, we want to be that team. We want to be involved. We want to be the ownership group. We want to be the management group. So our hope is to be, there's not a women's professional team of any kind, not just soccer, but there's no women's professional sports here in the state of Wisconsin. There's been $1 billion in public money spent on men's sports facilities. There's been zero spent on women's sports facilities. And if there's going to be professional women's sports here, we want to be the ones to do it.
Awesome. What are the top 3 rival teams for players and coaching staff, and why for each? This comes from Ryan Horvath.
Omaha. So that's where I stand. Go ahead.
Yeah, we always want to beat Omaha, of course. They're geographically a rival. Obviously, we know that there's a rivalry with Omaha. They're our first match this year. We want to beat them always. I mean, look, everyone. I mean, Richmond won the league last year. I'd love to beat them. Charlotte and Chattanooga gave it to us pretty good. Want to get back at them. So there's a few. There's a few teams that we owe, and we're looking forward to these games.
I will say, I mean, while I talk about Omaha, I mean, one thing that's unique about this league is we started on the off-the-field side of things. We started in 2019. We had one great year as a league, and then we went into a pandemic. And so there is a really good, while we do want to beat the other teams, we do want to win, there's a really good bond between the owners and like the executives amongst this league. Because we're all trying to figure out how to make these things work. It's a challenging business. And we're the first to kind of really do it at the 3rd division. And so we're trying to figure out how this works. So while we do compete, there's a great camaraderie amongst the owners and executives in the league.
Next question comes from John Lowry. As we look ahead to this year, what results would constitute a successful season?
Yeah, I would say from my side, it's pretty simple. It's playoffs. We got to be in the playoffs. We want to do more than that, but we have to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, playoffs. If we finish in a playoff position, we have a chance to go and win the league. The idea is to win the league, win trophies. We can't do that if we don't make the playoffs first and foremost. Obviously, it would be great to finish in first place in the league, but I think the main goal has to be getting the playoffs.
Melissa Miller, happy anniversary. Conor, what have you learned the first 5 years, and what are your goals for the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, we've learned so much. I mean, this is a startup league, a startup business, and I don't think we have enough time tonight to talk about everything that we've learned. I think we've continued to hopefully improve on what we're doing. We've made a lot of mistakes. We've done some stuff well. If there's one lesson I think I've taken away from the first 5 years is how important the fans are, and how we went into this and had the fans engage on the team name and the team colors. And even the logo. When we were developing the logo, there's a few folks in this room that influenced the logo. And so I think that's extremely important to, this is the community's club, it's not our club. And if you let the community guide you and you really let them lead, you're going to end up having success. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned is how important community is to this club and how cool it is that we've kind of built a community together, both on the field and off the field with all of our great fans.
Kevin May has a couple questions. Outside of tactical and technical focus for this new roster in preparation to the upcoming season, I'm wondering if there have been any thoughts or plans regarding the build of a cohesive team togetherness atmosphere for the new group. I think this one for you, Matt. The importance of the buy-in from players and trust in each other, even though they're being paid to play, seems to vary season to season.
Yeah, I think the idea, look, first and foremost, we want characters in the team that embody our core values, that embody respect and discipline and embody team first, those kind of ended up being, unfortunately, more like bullet points on a PowerPoint last year. And what we've tried to do in identifying players that are returning and also new players to the football club is bringing guys that live those things, that behave in a certain way. We did some things to quantify that process, some personality testing, some more in-depth interview process kind of things in terms of player signings, a lot of due diligence in terms of I want to say almost like background kind of checking kind of stuff on former coaches and players, and so we really tried to put a lot of effort into due diligence and building a roster with the character that we want to have. So that was a big thing for us.
Yeah, and the second question for Kevin, reflecting on last season with an optimistic approach moving into this year, one of the things that stood out to me the most was the lack of urgency in attacking unless our backs were against the wall and it was absolutely necessary. With the attacking abilities that are present on the current roster, I'm wondering if a more attacking mindset will be part of this year's tactical approach going into games.
Yeah, of course. You want to get good attacking players. We want to score more goals than the opponent. It's an area that we defined as a need for growth for sure. We struggled to create chances. It's no secret. So that was the area that we identified the most in terms of not only the roster build, in terms of the spend, in terms of identifying a proven goal scorer. Tactically, it's about guys that are willing to run and get in the box. In terms of entering the final third of the field, we were actually in the middle of the table. So we get there, and of course we want to be higher. We want to be a first in that category. But we get there. But then what do we do once we get there? And so a big part of that is identifying players that are going to take risks, take people on 1v1, put balls in the box, play progressive passes, look to combine, look to shoot, look to test the goalkeeper. Can we create corner kicks and set pieces? Can we be effective on corner kicks and set pieces? These are all areas that we defined. But the big thing for us is getting better in the boxes. Having the most possession in the league didn't help us. We still want to have the ball, but we want to create chances by playing a certain way. We want to create more and better chances.
We have a question from an anonymous individual. Would Ford Madison FC consider starting a B squad in USL 2 for development?
We kind of technically had that with we had a team in Green Bay for a few years that was owned by the same group. We didn't, when we did that, we didn't maximize the back and forth between the two clubs, or we didn't really utilize it as much as we had hoped. I think, in the present time, I think we're more focused on maybe some strategic relationships with other USL League Two clubs in kind of some partnerships that we can work on a handful of players with those clubs. Having our own League Two team isn't in our immediate future. Down the road, is it something we could do? But not something that's a burning priority for us. And as it relates to the academy, I think there's a question about signing academy players as well. We have yet to sign any academy players this year. We're not opposed to doing that. As it relates to joining the USL Academy or having our own academy team, I think it's a long-term priority. It's not a short-term priority for us. The short-term priority is to get the first team working well, get this business working well, and then eventually we'll look into the academy space. There's obviously a lot of competition in the academy space here locally, with both Minnesota having a presence here and Chicago. Long term, I think we'll get into that space, but it's not something that's going to happen this year.
All right, next question comes from CK. The last 2 seasons were extremely similar, as the team started off hot, became inconsistent during the middle of the season, and fizzled out offensively and defensively at the end of the season. This happened under 2 different coaches and 2 different sets of core players. Has the issue been identified, and what has been done this season, or what will be done this season, to see a more consistent play, especially in terms of productive play and creating scoring opportunities in the final third?
Yeah, I think the key word is consistency. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I don't think we started that well. I think we kind of fizzled this year. I can't speak to the year before. This past year, we struggled at the beginning for sure. Hit a peak in the middle of the season. So I think there was a time in July where we were in 3rd place and we were playing some decent footy, getting results. We beat Richmond, we beat Greenville. We were doing all right. And then for whatever reason, we obviously struggled down the stretch. And so we have tried to identify what that is, and there's a lot of factors that go into these types of things, of course. But I think a big thing for us is character, is finding guys that are good in critical moments, and I think we struggled in critical moments. For instance, we talk about set pieces, right? We conceded the most goals in the league of any team on set pieces. So that's an area that we've identified. Part of that's size, part of that's mentality, part of that's, there's a lot of different things that go into that. But I think it's also a microcosm of being in a moment of duress. A set piece, when you're defending a set piece, is a moment where you're under pressure. You're having to defend your goal. You're having to defend your box. We struggled in those moments consistently. And I think that is a sort of a smaller picture of the big picture, which is we struggled in critical moments. We were 3rd place in the summer. We finished in 9th. We didn't do well enough in the big moments. And so we've tried to identify and obviously retain players that we felt like we can trust in critical moments. We've tried to go out and identify players to bring into the football club that we feel like are going to be better in critical moments. We've got to be better in critical moments. It's a lot of 1-goal games. It's a lot of little details. And we've got to be better in those moments. And then obviously, the same as the question before, got to be better at creating chances and scoring goals. Our expected goals last season was second best our expected goals against was second best in the league. So to me, that tells me that we made a lot of mistakes and gave up a lot of crappy goals. And so it wasn't structural. It was, can we find players that are going to execute? Can we retain people that are going to execute in those critical moments? That's what we've gone out and tried to address.
Adam Wallman asked, would Ford Madison ever consider having to honor the military during a military vet night?
Adam, that's a great question. We actually had a military night, I think in August last year. We provided tickets for, I think, like 63 USO members and did a pregame color guard. We'll absolutely do that again this year. We haven't landed on a night yet. We're in the process of building out kind of all of our theme nights for the season. But it's a great question. We'll absolutely do an annual event, at least one, honoring active and veteran military members.
Travis Ashley asked, who will be broadcasting USL League One games this season?
Well, I'm not allowed to answer that, but I can tell you it's going to be easy to find. You're going to know how to find the games, and I'm hoping there's an announcement. So, we play soccer soon, so there better be an announcement soon.
Amanda Smith says, we love Lionella Bessie and Rose Cowbell, but have we considered adding a costume mascot, perhaps a flamingo?
Matt's player budget's taken all of our mascot budget. So, no, I think it's a fair question. I think we'll probably add to our herd of cows before we bring in a furry mascot. So, I don't mean it that way, but I do think, we plan to be here for a long time, right? We've been here 5 years. We've gone from 1 mascot to 2. I think eventually we could look to bring in a flamingo. I mean, I think most people know the story of why we have cows, but when we launched, we wanted to have a live mascot, and we're not properly licensed to have a live flamingo. And their legs are extremely fragile, and they can't travel because their legs break, and you have to put them in styrofoam boxes. But so we couldn't do a flamingo, so the next best thing is a cow. And then our cow, to become a dairy cow, had a calf, and so now we've got a couple, and maybe we'll build on that eventually. But yeah, eventually, I think that's a great suggestion. Eventually, we might have something a little more kid-friendly or more kid-friendly, but not something for this year.
Justine Fernandez asked the club, is the club going to ever have tryouts for local individuals?
Yeah, Justine, that's a good question. We had our annual tryout in December. We had, I think, 52 individuals, some local, some from across the country. So we will always do a tryout for local and potentially non-local folks as well. But that's something we've done from the start, something we'll always do.
And last question that was submitted comes from club legend and former admin Jason Klein. 5 seasons already, he says. Time flies, doesn't it? What is the club going to be doing to celebrate its big anniversary? Let me know if you need any help with donations from my personal Forward Madison Museum.
Jason, it's great to hear with you. Great to hear from you. I hope you're well in St. Louis. I think we'll celebrate 5 years of Forward, but it's been a weird 5 years. And while it is technically 5 years, we had one season in Milwaukee. We're not going to go too over the top. I think when we bring a championship to you guys, we'll go over the top. But it's good we've been in business for 5 years. It's good we survived a pandemic. It's good we do have a playoff appearance under our belts. But we think a lot more needs to be achieved, and when we achieve that, then we'll start partying.
Great, those are all pre-submitted. We can go on to.
All right, let's go to this group. Rich.
I got 2 questions.
All right.
First question. So you just announced the signing of Eric Conor. First player we've signed out of college in a couple seasons. Is there any plans to sign any more players out of college or out of USL League 2 or similar leagues?
Yeah, potentially. It's not for me. It's less about the environment that they're coming from and more about the player individually. We don't, as a staff, we don't go into signing a player and say, oh, we're not going to sign any college players or we're not going to sign a. It's down to the individual. It's down to do they fit what our needs are. I think Eric fits a lot of needs that we have as a midfield player. He can play some different positions. A big thing we talked about was versatility. He can play different positions. Had a lot of success at Western Michigan. Blue-collar team, Midwest guy. He's from Michigan. Just embodies a lot of the things that we're looking for in terms of his mentality, what he brings to a team. I really had a really good phone conversation with him. Usually what we'll do with a college player is invite him into preseason, but I was impressed enough with his film and the conversation that I had with him that we just pulled the trigger. So we're excited to have Eric. I think there'll be some guys coming into preseason in Minneapolis from League 2 and other college players. So we're certainly not sort of basing it on anything like that.
Sure. Other question is, I know that we had a few guys last season who struggled to get into the country for the start of the season. Are all the guys? How's the visa situation looking?
Yeah. I think everybody was here by the start of the season. I think what's tricky is getting everyone here by the very beginning of preseason, which is always it's usually a 6-week process. So really the only way to combat that is sign players in October and November, which is tough because most seasons are still going on then, especially in other parts of the world. So I think, look, I mean, we're trying to get everyone here. Most of the guys are on their way in. I think we're probably 50% right now for internationals being here versus not being here. But yeah, obviously it's important to get everyone here as soon as possible. Some of that's out of our control, but we got a great immigration attorney that Conor pays for that helps us.
We've had a few. Hey, we're in much better shape than we were a year ago, though. I think, both number of players signed and on the immigration side. It's not perfect, but we're definitely in a much better spot. Good.
Just formationally, like what from the stands can we expect to kind of see on the field from you? Perfect world-wise. Are we going to be more of a a team that looks to sit and kind of compact the midfield, or what's your ethos? Are we kind of spreading it out wide? What do you like to see from the guys, and what's something that you're looking to kind of push forward this year?
Yeah, we kind of approached it a little bit differently this year, you know. Last year, I came in with like this very specific way that I wanted to play, you know, this game model, this formation, this way that I've worked with in the past and had success with in the past. It didn't translate, and so what we've elected to do this year is kind of identify, yeah, we still want to be ball-oriented. We want to have the ball. We feel like we're going to create more chances if we have more of the ball. Doesn't mean we want to pass sideways and backwards. It means we want to have the ball in the opponent's half, get the ball in the box like we spoke about. I think we're probably going to be a little bit more fluid tactically. I'd like to be. I don't want to say we're going to play 4-4-2. I want to see who shows up in what condition, who the best strengths are. I want to identify what as a coach, I want to put the players in the best position to be successful. So I haven't come into it this year with oh, we're going to play 3-4-3, 4-4-2. I haven't come into it like that. We have come in with a set of principles, like pretty simple, like can we get the ball forward? Immediate reaction when we lose the ball. We want to be organized defensively, and we've kind of approached it more from a macro level rather than, you know, we're going to play this system and this is what we're going to do no matter what. I want to see what these guys have. I want to see who our best players are in what position, how we can best utilize them. So I think to answer your question, we're figuring that out. But my staff and I are experienced enough that we can work in any formation. I've coached every formation there is. JP's been around longer than me. Jim's been around for longer than everyone in this room. So I mean, we've got a lot of experience in the staff, and you know, we're going to figure it out one way or another. I think it's more principle based, and it's more like here's our identity. We'll figure out the details and the nuance of the tactics as we kind of get guys in.
Yeah, I got a question.
Good, Joe.
So I presume we'll be in the U.S. Open Cup this year then, and there could be possibly a home game like last year?
That's the hope, yeah. The question is on the U.S. Open Cup. The windows for the U.S. Open Cup are, I think it's the first week of April. And, yeah, April 4th to 6th. So we have a bye week. On April 1st there. Then there's a Open Cup window, and then after our UW exhibition on April 22nd is an Open Cup.
Second round is April 4th to 6th. First
No.
round is in March.
Which we're not involved
We're
in.
not in, right, we're not.
Do you want to answer? Come on up, Mitch. So there's two windows in April. It'll be the April 4th through 6th, and then after our UW exhibition, there's a window there as well.
Okay.
So we don't know exactly who we're going to play. We can kind of guess by looking at it a little bit, but we are in it again, and we won 2 coin tosses last year to host after going, I think, 3 years without winning one. So hopefully we can host again here.
Okay, excellent.
Hopefully it won't be 42 and a 90% chance of rain either like it was last year.
That was a good game though against Minnesota.
It was a good game,
That was
yeah.
an excellent game. So that was an excellent game.
I was in a suite, so it was great. No, I'm kidding. I was out there. I was out there with you. Yeah. So, go ahead.
Just another one, kind of follow up about this space, and we talked a little about women's soccer. The Women's World Cup is coming up this
Yeah.
year. Can we anticipate some sort of maybe like outside on the field fan zone with the large news screen?
Man, this guy's smart. You'll notice July 26th, I think it is. We're playing a 6:00 game. U.S. Women's National Team kicks off at 8, and we'll have a new video board. So the idea is we'll play 6:00. After the game, you can either stay in your seat in the grandstand or come onto the field, and we'll watch that match. And then there's currently one other 8 p.m. game scheduled, and we don't have solidified plans whether it's here or on the field, kind of weather dependent, but we'll look to have a watch party for that as well. Their third currently scheduled game is at 2 a.m. If you're interested, we can come. We did look into state laws about the service of alcohol. You can't do it without a state law change between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., with the exception of, we do have a lobbyist, not for that, but with the exception of New Year's Eve, you can't do that, I don't think. But yeah, we will be having watch parties, and hopefully there's some additional games after that we can have programming on the field or in this space. All right, we'll go here and then work our way through. I'm sorry, Kevin, did you have a question? You can go first.
Just kind of follow up on the U.S. Open Cup. We talked about a little earlier of having a little smaller roster this year and kind of quota management. Does that
My priority in the Open Cup is to win the games that we should win. So, for instance, last year we beat I can't even remember the name of the team that came out.
Cleveland.
Yeah, Mitch knows. We beat Cleveland, and we played mostly reserve. I would say mostly reserve players. Obviously, when we played Minnesota United, one of their players makes 4 times our player budget. So it's a little bit, not that we don't want to win the game. We go to win the game.
You got a good player budget. Stop complaining.
We do have a good player budget. But yeah. So look, I want to win the games that we want to win. My big thing for me in the Open Cup is not get guys injured. My priority is the league. I want to win games in the Open Cup. Don't get me wrong, but my priority is the league, and I want to win the league.
I think too, we added a league match this year, so we'll have 2 league matches, 1 league home match, so 32 USL matches, 16 home matches. I think there's a question in here about exhibitions or friendlies. We're playing the UW on April 22nd. It's a good early season match on a Saturday when we have a bye week. We want to always play that game. We think it's good for the soccer community. We think it's good for the city, good for the state. And then we'll have only 1 other exhibition is the plan. So, the roster is a little smaller, but only 1 other exhibition. We won't be packing a lot of exhibitions. Year 1, I think we had 4. So 1 other exhibition, that'll be an international opponent, and that'll be in July. We're not settled on that opponent yet, but it will be an international opponent in July.
Are they from Wales?
So I think that question's about Wrexham. I mean, we could just talk on it. We had our strategic planning meetings as a company on the business side in September, and that idea obviously came up. My business partner, Vern Stemman, took the initiative to reach out to them. They were great. Wrexham replied immediately and said that, as much as we'd love to play in Madison, they've got some other priorities in being MLS clubs if they did come to the U.S. At the time, they weren't sure they were going to. But they did say that they would be playing MLS clubs, likely that would have relationships with their ownership group. So we're on the list, but low on the list, I think. They are doing the 7v7 tournament in Cary, and then I think you may see them. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they played some additional events. Let's just go ahead. Go ahead, Mitch. Well, Mitch, you've already gone twice. Hold on. Let's all right, yeah, go ahead.
Real quick. So is the reason we're having fewer exhibitions because of the expanded season?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. We think if you look at the schedule congestion as is, there's only 1 real window that we could place an additional game in, and we think we've promised our fans since year 1 it'd be an 18-game season ticket package, and so we are. I'm not sure many other teams are playing friendlies, but I don't know that many are going to play much more than 18 in our league, or many will play 18. So we do want to make sure that we are taking care of the guys. I think in the fall. Town hall, there's some questions about the turf and protecting the guys' legs as well, and we are working to arrange to, on the re-entry day after a match to have the guys on grass, natural grass. Probably can't do that until May, but we'll work to have the guys on natural grass for their kind of workouts to make sure that they're getting off the turf and resting their legs.
A follow-up on the roster size. Is any of that a financial aspect of either paying a fewer number of guys a little bit more to make sure they come here, or not having the money to add more guys, or is it purely just we wanted to?
We got plenty of money. I mean, we have a good budget.
No,
We've got a good budget. We've got a good budget. No,
so,
it's.
no, I mean, we're going up. I think 20% our player budget, but it is a financial piece to be at 20. I mean, the things are different this year than past years. There's a collective bargaining agreement that has a minimum wage requirement. In the past, we've been able to have some local players that maybe lived at home or had housing or had an uncle in town or whatever it might be, aunt or uncle, and they would play on a lower wage, and they would kind of be maybe lower end of the roster or just fresh out of college trying to make it. And because of the changes to the collective bargaining agreement and the minimum salary, that's kind of maybe spot 22 and 23. Just because what it was last year, you would have to pay that individual for anywhere from $2,000 to 4 or 5x what you paid him last year now. And so, you'll see us carry. We carried 23 last year. We'll carry 20 to 21 this year. I think it's a mix of wanting to have a little more tight-knit group, having some roster spots that we didn't really utilize much last year, but two, making sure that the dollars we have, we are focused on, I'd say, the first 15.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Coach, you've been here for a year. I'm curious about your experience in Madison. I know I've seen you out biking on the bike path, but what do you love about Madison?
Yeah, my wife and I love Madison. So we're over in over at Willie Street area. We love it. We get out and about. Love the lakes in the summer. We got to get out a few times. In the winter, we've sort of embraced it now. Gone out on the frozen lakes, and just bundled up. And I love Madison. I think it's an awesome city. It's one of the better places that I've lived, and everyone's welcoming and nice. There's great restaurants, cool little dive bars that Neil and I like to go to, and I know, but it's been good. We really have enjoyed the city, and it's become home. It's become home for us.
So how are you ready for polar plunge next week?
I'm excited. I'm excited. I've never done a polar plunge before, but I think it's for a fantastic cause. I think it's really cool. So many people chipped in to get it done. We've got a bunch of office staff joining in. I'm going to have the players out there. I'm not going to make them do it, but I'm going to have them out there too. So I just think it's an awesome thing for an awesome cause, and I'm excited about it.
And also, I just think with so many international players coming in, what kind of ice-breaking activities do you guys have planned? So,
Pun intended.
Get used to where their surroundings are and language barriers.
Yeah, no language barrier so far. Hopefully the Englishmen speak English, and I'm hoping the guy from New Zealand does as well. No, but I think from that perspective, it's about getting the group together. We're going to go out and do some activities. I think probably obviously the big thing Conor mentioned, our preseason kind of tour of the Midwest. We're gonna kind of bounce around. We're going to do some stuff when we're in Minneapolis. We'll probably do some stuff in Chicago. We're going to Indianapolis as well. So we'll probably take the guys out and do a few kind of icebreaker kind of events whether it's something fun, something low key. Once we get back in town, it's something that we want to do. We want to do a lot more of than what we did last year. That's getting guys out in the community, doing some volunteer work, doing some community events, and also just getting them together in a low pressure situation. So it's not as if we're looking into a bunch of ways to do that. But I don't think, hopefully the language barrier wouldn't be too much of an issue this year. But I do think it's important to get the group together and to get the guys hanging out.
From England, they're going to have different, different things.
For sure. For sure.
But so you learn from each group because we're watching Premier Soccer, almost every Saturday.
Yeah.
But still it's going to be just fun to have different players from different parts that this is what they love and bring them to Madison and means it.
That's it. Focusing what we have in common, which is loving the game and getting them to love the city and what we're doing here.
That was a really good question. I quite like that. And you've obviously done your due diligence as you speak with your recruitment, but yet the coaching staff remains the same. So I'm curious how you're going to objectively monitor your own performance, because we only see it the weekend for about an hour and a half. How are you going to monitor your own performance as a staff to see that you don't replicate the same mistakes throughout the season?
Yeah, I think the reflection period was at the end of the season. So any coaching course you do, any type of methodology, whether it's teaching, there's a period of self-reflection. And I think Andrew mentioned it when he spoke from a player's perspective. It's similar. From a coach's perspective, it's exactly the same. That's stripping the ego out of it. And saying, look, we got this wrong. We got this bit wrong. How can we address it? And so we've taken some steps as a staff to address the things that we felt like needed to be addressed. Part of that's our sideline candor. How we deal with the referees. I got too many yellow cards last year. It's funny but it's something that. Reflecting on it, how can we get those referees on our side? How can our candor, how can our tenor be in such a way that they're willing to give us, if there's a 50-50 call, maybe it's going our way, because it didn't go our way. What we did last year didn't work. So it's things like that, man. It's self-reflecting. It's having, first of all, as a head coach, I have to fully trust these guys. I fully trust my staff. They're incredible. I trust them. If there was a moment to back out, it would have been last season when things were going tough. These guys have stuck with me through thick and thin. So I'm very fortunate to have the staff that I have. They keep me on my toes. I keep them on their toes, and that's the kind of relationship we have. It's a very holistic, collaborative kind of thing, and it starts with trust.
Matt?
Conor, I got 2 questions.
All right.
Answer the second one first, okay? So one, I want to know, how do we know that our money stays in Forward Madison, doesn't go to Milwaukee,
Yeah.
stuff like that? And then my second question is, a crazy madman soccer fan has a gun to your head, and he says, the only way you're going to live, you got to pick the Milwaukee logo, soccer team, or the Forward Madison on your forehead. Which one are you going to pick?
Well, there isn't a Milwaukee logo, so that's an easy question.
Well,
Yeah.
so, all right, this is in 2026.
Yeah. Listen, this is where things started, and this place. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. My family lives in this community. We're going to stay in the community while we are, or a couple members of our group, Jim Kazmarek and myself, are in the process of starting a USL Championship team in Milwaukee. That's not going to take our focus off of what happens here. We've hired Zane Heinzelman to be our VP and general manager, and Zane's done a great job in his short time here. And Zane's beyond competent to run this business, and will do a great job running the business. And I'll still be an owner and still be extremely involved. And so, the Ford logo is special, and it'll always have a huge place in my heart. Hopefully, we have a cool logo in Milwaukee as well, but we're not there yet. And that's a few years away.
Madison's going right there.
Yeah, and then your other question, how do we ensure that your money stays in this community? Well, it's 2 totally separate businesses. I think there can be some synergy from a player perspective. I think we can use Milwaukee to recruit players to Madison down the road. I think the idea that players will come to Madison because they have a direct access to a championship team. A lot of guys that come here want to make it to the championship and then go beyond. I think that'll help. That'll help recruit players to Madison. I think having 2 teams 90 minutes away will help from a training perspective, and there will be, I wouldn't say a sharing of players, but there's going to be some efficiency there. But it's 2 separate ownership groups. It's not going to be the same owners, and the businesses are going to be separate, and the dollars that you spend are going to stay, focused on this club. And while there's 2 people involved in both, there's a lot of people focused on just one. And so we're going to make sure as we expand that it's only a positive for this club, and it's not something that takes away from what happens here. Go ahead, sir.
2 questions. Is there going to be more opportunity to put fitted hats and that kind of stuff in the apparel shop? And is there going to be more build up to launch releases for new jerseys during the season, or is it going to stay the way it has in KDC?
Can you say that last part?
So is it going to stay the same like we did a release this part of the season and then we did a release on the jerseys as we go, or are you guys going to add more frequency to the amount of jerseys we release this season?
Yeah, so the questions were on fitted hats. I wish I had Chase Egan or Alyssa Bruce here, but I think we do have some more fitted hats coming. Alyssa, can you please answer the question on fitted hats? Fitted hats?
Yes, lots of hats.
Fitted hats.
Yes.
All right, more fitted hats for the gentleman with the big hat. And then on the kit side of things, I'll tell you what we're doing. We've committed to our fans that every 2 years, or we would keep every home kit static for 2 years, so you wouldn't have to rebuy every year. So we're on that off year. So we will have a new home kit. That'll roll out before our home opener in April. We don't have an exact date on that, but likely the week before. And then we work with our good friends at the Flock, a few of them that are in this room, to lead the design on our road kit. And that's something that we've done for the last 4 years. And so the Flock is in the process of a committee of Flock members is in the process of designing that kit. $5 from every sale of that kit goes back to the Flock Soccer Fund. And we'll roll that out before we play in Omaha. So you'll have those 2 kits for sure. National Flamingo Day is annually June 23rd. I think we have a home match on June 22nd this year. So you'll likely see an alternate kit for National Flamingo Day. That's something we've done the last few years. And then we'll have a few keeper kits as well. But that's kind of our cadence in our rollout. Some of those keeper kits might stretch to later in the year. We did roll out one of our 2023 keeper kits on Black Friday last year. So.
Some of the most successful Ford Madison seasons have had an Irish player play on the team. He said very selfishly, is that ever going to be a thing again?
Yeah, I love Irish players. Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, we scoured the earth and talked to players. Talked to a few Irish players for sure. But again, it's less about the background or the geography and more about the individual. Do they align with our game model? Do they align with our player profiles? And I'm all for Irish players. But yeah, no one's come up just yet.
We do have a few international spots. Still
we
open,
still
right?
do, yeah. So if you know anyone, send them my way.
But we've used what, 4 of our 7 international spots?
5.
5?
That was the question.
I think there's a couple in here though. Let's see here.
It was mostly, please remove this person, please.
Yeah.
Someone asked for some background on
Oh.
Burned. I can do that one.
So the question was, how did the technical staff identify Burn Shipman, and what's his backstory?
Yeah, so Burned came in with us to train last year. He had been with Chicago Fire, had spent some time training with them. We got a good recommendation from their former goalkeeper coach, who JP and I know a little bit. He came in, spent some time with us. We were impressed with just his demeanor, professionalism. He's a big boy. Calm, there's a lot of things about him that are aligned with our player profile for that position. So, and then we obviously, JP and I have a relationship with Burns' agent, and we started that dialogue. And he's obviously had an interesting background. He's been in Germany, lower tiers, 4th tier, came up through Schalke, I think, as a youth player, which is a big club in Germany. Like I said, spent some time in Germany. Bounced around, spent some time in Thailand. He's got some interesting experiences, and he's a little bit older, and we're really excited to have Burned.
There's a question here on additional friendlies. We will play the UW, and we are working on one more international friendly in July. And then stadium improvements, we mentioned the video board, also some additional food and beverage points of sale on both ends of the stadium. Other questions from this group? Go ahead, sir.
And given the city's ownership of the stadium, do you guys have any influence or, I guess, interaction at all with the upcoming mayoral election or city council election? The politics, so local politics of the ownership of the stadium?
As far as do we
have any interaction as far as like with candidates or any influence on lobby? You mentioned lobbying is probably more at the state level, but like
the question is our political relationships. We've had a good relationship with the current mayor. I'll say that. Even dating back to our time with the Madison Mallards, she was our alder there. And so my business partner, Vern Stedman, has a long-standing relationship with the current mayor. And she's been very supportive of what we do here and what we've done here and what we want to do here in the future. So, we're fortunate to have a good relationship with the mayor and the Parks Department and a lot of different city agencies. As it relates to the, all their races, we're more observers than anything else. And we've been fortunate since we first signed our first lease here in 2015, 2016. We've been fortunate to have a really good and supportive relationships with the local alders. Our alder district has moved since 2016, but we've been able and fortunate to maintain a good relationship with those alders and the local neighborhood association. If we're not being a good neighbor, there's no way for us to have success here. And so the TLNA has been awesome to deal with since we came in 2015, the Tenny Lapham Neighborhood Association. Any additional questions? All right, we'll see you on April 15th. Now, you may see us one more time before then to kind of check in and give you an update on how things are. A year ago we didn't have this space. It's pretty awesome to have this space full with fans as we're all, anxiously getting ready for the season. So thank you very much. Have a great evening.